Hello Year 9 and welcome to Lesson 2 of the planning lessons for Friday's of Mice and Men assessment essay on Curly's wife and how Steinbeck presents her. These lessons are here to help you, to give you a lot of things to think about when you're writing about this character, but also to guide you through how to form a paragraph and then ultimately how to form a whole essay. Hopefully this will help you. There will be something towards the end of this video and in this PowerPoint slide which will be aimed to push the kind of the students who really want to challenge themselves and really want to do very well, students who are would be hoping to get that kind of mastering or somewhere near the mastering stage of your abilities. So once you get to that and you feel like you've had enough, that's okay. I'd encourage everybody to really try and push themselves. Anyway, there is a set of planning sheets, a Microsoft Word document attached to the Show My Homework that you will be needing to use either on your computer or you can print them off and write on them. You'll be writing notes today. It's going to be very much a planning lesson. I'm not expecting you to be writing whole paragraphs, not really even whole sentences, just getting notes down on what we're going through. Okay, so this first slide is a series of words or phrases that the characters within Of Mice and Men call Curly's wife, and you can see from this that they all see her fairly negatively. And some of you might argue, well, the word good looking or show off might be seen as positives, but actually you need to think, well, are they? If you're being called good looking, you're being valued on your looks and your looks alone, not on your personality, not on your sense of humor or how you make other people feel. It's simply a visual evaluation of you. So it's not particularly complimentary, and certainly most of these words that you have in front of you are very, very negative, especially this word jailbait, the idea that she's dangerous, tramp or bitch. Okay, so let's move on. This is a timeline and a very, very basic summary of what happens to Curly's wife as we go through the novel. Okay, so from chapter 2, when Curly's wife comes by the bunkhouse and does a bit of flirting with George and Lenny and any other males within viewing range, Curly's wife comes to Cooks's room because she's lonely. This is in chapter 4 then. She tries talking to Lenny, Crooks and Candy, but they want her to leave. Curly's wife gets insulted and calls the men mean names. Curly's wife finds Lenny in the barn and tries to engage him in conversation. This is in chapter 5 now. Curly's wife offers to let Lenny pet her hair. Curly's wife regrets this decision and she gets her neck broken by Lenny as she struggles to stop her hair from getting messy. So, very, very basic timeline of what happens to her in the story. Okay, here is a collection of quotations, the chapter that they're from, and what it shows about her. So if you are struggling with finding quotations, if you really struggled with the extract work that we did in the last lesson, if you are thinking, I don't really know what to say, here, this sheet should help you in finding some things to say about Curly's wife, and you might be able to get a bit of inspiration from this. I'm not going to go through it in any great detail. It's there as a resource for you if you want a little bit of inspiration as to what you're going to say about Curly's wife. So, excuse me, just having a little drink of water. How should we structure this? We're going to be thinking not just about writing paragraphs, but we're going to be thinking about writing a whole essay. An introduction paragraph, 3 or 4 P paragraphs, and that's why we've got a picture of a P here, and a conclusion. So an essay is not just writing 2 or 3 paragraphs. It's actually shaping an argument and saying something about a character in many different ways, using many different quotations across the novel. Okay, so the planning sheets that we've got in attached to the Show My Homework assignment look like this. Each one of them gives a series of questions and things that you might want to think about, maybe some tasks that you can do. You could make some notes, give some keywords and quotations. This is really to help you structure out your planning. So this first page is to help you with the introduction. Gives you a few bits of information, these bullet points here. It then gives you some things to think about in terms of America in the 1930s. There is a typo on that page. I do apologize for that. It says 1030s. It should say 1930s. I do apologize for that. The second page then should be your first PEA paragraph. Okay. And again, there's some bullet points about what you should be writing, some ideas, and then there's some quotations, and then there's some space for you to do some planning. Now, can I just add to this, Year 9? You don't have to follow these planning sheets. If you want to get on with your own independent planning, if you know what you're going to write, if you've used the extracts that we looked at in the last lesson and you are very clear about what you're going to write, please don't feel like you have to follow this structure. This work is very much for people who are not able to, or feel that they are struggling with what they're going to write. These sheets just give a little bit of a plan, and I would expect anybody and everybody, if using these sheets, to be adding their own ideas to it. Okay. Planning sheets 3 and 4. There's a sheet here on your first impression of Curly's wife, and the first extract that I went through in detail in Monday's lesson will really help with this. And then you've got Curly's her relationship with Curly. Again, some things to think about, and then some keywords. But please, don't just use these quotes to go, oh, I'm going to write about that. Use this space underneath that to write your thoughts. Write about what exactly you are going to say in this paragraph. And it's just there to help you with that point in evidence. Okay, and then you've got your fourth paragraph, which is about chapter 4 and the development of the themes around Curly's wife. We've got loneliness and dreams and aggression, and then we've got the final paragraph, your opinion of Curly's wife, and then a conclusion. Now, I would say that you don't have to do these sheets if you don't want to, but you do have to have a plan. Okay. If you are thinking about really pushing your ideas further, you are looking to show some real independent thought, and you want to be challenged in your learning and challenging yourself to do very, very well in this assessment, I would say you can proceed with this lesson. If you don't want to challenge yourself further, then don't go. Don't stop this video now. Go on with the planning sheets and get on with it. Okay. These next few minutes and these next few slides are for people who are really wanting to stretch themselves and to get a great grade in their assessment ultimately. Okay, so anyone who doesn't want to challenge themselves, go now, do your planning, and we look forward to seeing your work on when you send it in on Friday. Okay, they're gone. So now we need to, I should have the rest of you just thinking about really pushing yourself. Now, what we're going to be looking at today in this section of the lesson is not making the point and giving the evidence. It's not the PE that we're looking at here. It's the A. It's about how to push your analyzing, your analysis further so that you can really push your thinking further. Okay, so a PEA paragraph, point evidence analysis, Some people find that point and evidence is very, very easy, but the analysis is where they struggle or where they really want to develop their skills. Okay. The first thing that I would say with analysis, the first thing that you should do when you come to that stage of writing a PEA paragraph is you need to do an extreme close-up. You, like this image is an extreme close-up of a tree that's been cut down. You need to examine tiny details and discuss how the writers use techniques. You should be focusing on single words or short phrases from the quotations that you have given in your evidence. Okay. Start to think about, well, what effect does this have on the reader? What does this say about the character? That kind of thing. That's your analysis. A way to push your analysis a little bit further, though, is to think about evaluating what you've done, which is actually zooming out. You've zoomed in on specific words or phrases. Now in your writing you need to zoom out. Okay, look at the big picture and discuss the writer's use of techniques and how the writer's use of techniques helps us understand the writer's intention. And that's a key thing to be asking yourself. What is Steinbeck's intention here? How does he want us to feel about this character of Curly's wife? Or how does he want us to feel about women in general? Or how does he want us to feel about loneliness in general? Okay, so it's not about zooming into specific words, but actually looking at the big picture. So we've done the analysis here, but the evaluating comes after that, looking at this big picture. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute, but for now, think about this. You zoom in to analyze, you look at detail of what we might otherwise miss. Then you need to zoom out to evaluate, to show what we can, how we can understand how the detail fits into the bigger picture. And the bigger picture really is thinking about what Steinbeck was trying to say about the character, what Steinbeck wants us to feel about the character, and what Steinbeck is trying to say about the world in which he lives, or the world in which he's trying to create. So, as an example of this structure, so the first bit is analysing. You zoom in on Steinbeck's use of language to describe a character. So, here we go. Candy calls Curly's wife a tramp and a tart. You'll see here that I've used single words. I'm not looking at big quotations now. I've zoomed in on single words. Derogatory terms that are only applicable to women. Candy's words are direct and vicious. He repeatedly uses the second person pronoun you, making his tone accusing and pinpointing his anger specifically at her. Candy blames her for wrecking his dream, expressing his hatred for her. He said viciously, "You done it, didn't you?" Putting the words into the dead body's mouth like forcing a false confession. So here we've got this analysis. I've put some thought into it. I've looked specifically at key words here, tramp, tart, and that second person pronoun you, all very important. But what I now need to think about is the bigger picture, the why. Why is Steinbeck doing this? What is his intention? Okay. And here we've got a zoom out, an evaluation. Zoom out to show how this links to Steinbeck's reason for creating this character. Curly's wife cannot be held responsible for her own death. Steinbeck always presented her as the underdog at the bottom of the hierarchy, not having her own name and simply referring to her as one of Curly's possessions. I feel that it was easier for Candy to blame her for the loss of the dream. He had colluded with George to defer revealing her death, and because of George's friendship with Lenny, it was difficult for Candy to focus his blame onto Lenny. Steinbeck is showing how the harshness and brutality of life on the ranch makes his characters mean-spirited and ungenerous. Now, what you can see that I've done here is I've put a lot of thought and planning into this evaluation. When you guys are doing your planning and you really want to push a paragraph or a point as far as it can go, I want you to make sure that you're planning for that. Don't think that that will come just as you're writing the essay. It must be thought about, it must be planned. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson, or my input into this lesson. Your job now is to write a plan of an introduction, 2 or 3 or 4 maybe PEA paragraphs, and a conclusion to this question. Use the planning sheets if you need to, but make sure that you're trying to push your analysis as far as you can go. I hope you are all well and safe, Year 9. Hopefully we will see you very, very soon, face to face. Until that time, stay safe and look after yourself.